Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte, episode 40, Curtain Call. And yes, we are going back to reviewing more of American Vampire after we've been having some fun just talking about our stuff. But even before we get into the comic, I'm going to let my friend, my co host, Frogbreaker Studios, Jason Alexander, go first, and then me, Crimson Owl Comics, Ronnie Gunter, go second.
All right. Y'all know what time it is. But actually, y'all might not know what time it is because, yes, it is mini comic bundle time. But as of this week, I got these in the mail yesterday, it's bundle 7 of the mini comic bundle time. And I'm about to show y'all, we'll get that in a second. I ain't going to tell y'all already. Okay, This is the books that we got coming out this month. We got Fright Rider.
Ooh, I like that.
So imagine Knight Rider with a little bit of Speed Racer, but I don't know, like a horror sci-fi fever dream. It's pretty intense for a one shot. I think you guys will love it. Mm-hmm. It came out very, very nice. The liaison is really cool because this is our first bridge to the webcomics. The liaison has a connection to the briefing, which is the first webcomic that we're going to release for subscribers. So you're getting a little bit more background to this story of this portal that opens up and who knew about it and what is it and why is it. And then there's Gilead City.
Oh man, that's really cool.
This story, man, like this is my first real published piece that is fully inspired by my upbringing. Mm-hmm. It's not something that you would expect. It's a sci-fi where you basically live in this world that is mostly artificial. And somehow these ruling elite have found a way to give everybody everlasting life unless they decide to end it. So it's a story that's full of questions, but it's also a story that what do you do when you can't give the loyalty that's commanded of you because you're a human? Yeah. And that's what this 3-part story really delves into. This, in all reality, there's different shades of it, but this is, I think, our first fully horror bundle. This is like a flight of horror. You get those little small beers.
Looks amazing.
You get those 3, you get 5 small beers and you get to taste all of them and you say, okay, all these are horror. This to me is just full on 80s horror.
Definitely has almost like that old school horror comics like Tales from the Crypt, especially the skeleton look to it.
Yeah, this is VHS horror. Fright Rider
sure.
Is straight up VHS horror. Then you go to the liaison. The liaison is definitely sci-fi. But as the story progresses, you realize it's scary for a different reason. So sci-fi horror here. And then you got this. This story is if you were to give it a name, it would be cyberpunk horror. It's out of this world. It's nuts. It gets really, really awesome. I think you guys will love it. Aaron's artwork, as usual, is top notch. Everything just looks crisp and clean. And before I'm done talking, I just want to put these on the camera real quick so y'all can see, this is what these books look like in your hands. They're really in every sense of the word. They're mini comics. It's not just. This is a comic book. This is as much of a comic book of anything that you would read. Gilead City is just, it's it's my favorite story for
So
sure.
detailed.
Yeah, it's Honey, I Shrunk the Comic. Like, it's a full on comic. Like, we got splash pages
Oh, that's
that make
nice.
sense and look awesome. Like, guys, minicomicbundles.com. Like, we got good comic books. We got web comics coming out that the briefing feels totally cinematic. You guys can't, like, I think that we have something to say in the world of comics, and Aaron
Mhm,
shows it with his artwork. And I think that my storytelling is, like, we're getting to know each other at this point in the game. So,
for sure.
like, check them out, guys. Like, there's even some sample bundles on the page where you can, like, actually read through some of the stories that we've told. So minicomicbundles.com. Check it out. I'm done now, Ronnie. Thanks, man.
All right, not a problem. And before we get into more, I like to just say hello to any of our people in the chats.
Yeah,
Let's
what's
see
up,
who we
y'all? We
got
got
going
Rude
on.
Eat. Rude Eats is
My
always here.
brother,
So was
that's my
Kamikaze.
brother.
Man, we appreciate y'all. I think I
He's
saw,
here.
yeah, Retro. Mr. Palmietti is in the building. How's it going, man? Like,
Yeah, awesome.
you guys are awesome. And I see something about baby arms in the chat, so I'm just not even. I'm just gonna let it ride. That conversation is obviously not about me, so
All
I'm just
right.
gonna stay out of it.
All right. So let me get my banner up. And for
Yeah.
anyone that doesn't know, yes, my horror comic on Tapas is up. A Vengeful Heart. Please give it a read. If you like it, give it a like and find a
Subscribe to
way
Ronnie.
subscribe.
Subscribe to Ronnie, guys. He deserves it. The comic is good.
Let me get that. Do.
But look at this, guys. Like,
Yeah, there you go. It's up. Episode 1, The Ritual. And yeah, it feels really good to have it up and just feel great to just have so many people like message me about, oh, this is your best work. I really love it. I can't wait for more. You know, just it feels
it's
great
really
because
good, Ronnie. Yeah.
yeah, because it's one of those things, we review horror and we talk about horror and like my brother Root Eats and stuff and Kamikaze as kids, we grew up, you know, watching a lot of 80s horror movies and I've read a lot of horror comics and a lot of horror novels. So yeah, I mean, pretty much horror has been a big aspect of my life and it's great to show people instead of just drawing it, I could write it. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm working on episode 2 now and the idea is to have that published before the end of the month. So,
We've reviewed I feel like every layer of comics so far.
mhm,
Like, and now, like, with this book that we're reviewing now, it's
mhm.
like this is the most mainstream,
Yeah,
right, of the books that we've done, but we've covered everything. But there's talking about it and there's being about it. And I feel like with your book, like, you show, like, you have the right to run your horror channel
yeah.
because you know
I
how to put
appreciate
it
that.
down too.
I appreciate that.
So, like, congratulations, man. So
Thank you.
you've been a rightful captain through the Comics de la Muerte waters. So I appreciate you.
Not a problem. So let us start talking about the chapter curtain call. I really like
Yeah.
this chapter. This chapter had a lot of gore and a lot of action to it. So,
I didn't want to like it at first, to be honest.
mhm.
I felt like it was slow, but it
Yeah, I
wasn't
gotcha.
it wasn't I didn't feel like that long at all. And
Hmm.
it when I didn't feel like that, I understood why the beginning of the story was the way it was. It's
Yeah.
because the payoff was once the action hit, it didn't really stop. And the
Hmm.
story stuck with the action the whole way through.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
for
not
sure.
easy to do. So no, this was a really good chapter. Not my favorite chapter, but a really good chapter.
Yeah. So pretty much with this, they're outside the limits of Los Angeles. You see the old wooden sign, and Pearl and her boyfriend, they're just pretty much trying to just let me see. They're pretty much just trying to get ready to have a giant massacre going on, as you see
Yep.
here. you know and like Jason said, it's very slow. They're just basically doing almost like the Lost Boys things, just trying to get
Yeah.
any type of wood that they can and chop it up. But even how slow it is, it's just nice to see the transition and to see Raphael's artwork, as good
Yeah.
as it is always, with
It
like the shadow.
yeah. Yeah, there was really
Mhm.
panel for panel wise, like I'm not talking story, but
Yeah.
nothing really missed. Like the art was pretty high quality through every
Hmm.
single panel. Um but the only thing that I was curious about in the beginning of this, Ronnie, is like I they were tough, but
Yeah.
how did they like get so organized? Like, do they just become vampires and like they know how to like lay out a perimeter and all like they got it together like quick,
Oh
with
yeah.
him just now
Pearl.
being a vampire. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We really don't know like the time period between how long, because
Right.
we saw them pretty much get away, and now you have them preparing, and all you really have is 1925. It's like, okay, it's 1925 in Los Angeles, but between her escaping from almost being killed because of her friend, and her turning him into one, you know was it months in between? Yeah,
Right.
I wish they would have gone more detail with that, for sure.
Right. Even if they had done like May, like March to May, like we would have had an
Yeah.
idea of
Mhm.
okay, there's 2 months of missing time. But like this felt like they had been like doing this for a lot longer than a couple months. And
Yeah.
like you said, it would have been nice to like be able to like get a time landmark
Yeah. I love
somewhere in
this.
the beginning.
I love the sound effect and the motion of the curving of the
You
stake
hear
here.
it. Yeah,
I
you
like
hear it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do, do, do. And now we're into the European vampire's place. And the first thing I spotted was like this woman who has like no arms and no legs and basically naked. And the
Yeah.
thing is, if I'm not mistaken, she's alive still. like
Yeah,
they're
she doesn't look like she's dead.
like
She's
they're
just
they're draining her. And then
yeah.
you got like the Three Stooges again here, and they're just having their conversation, just
I'd
chit
be
chat.
curious to know if that really was an influence because you
Right?
can't help but see it when you see them.
Yeah. And now we have more of the close up of like the woman, and you could see how her arms and legs are cut off, and
Yeah,
she's
she's got
wearing
a
a
faucet
mask.
on her arms.
Yeah, because they're slowly draining her blood
That
into
is
the
so
tub.
gnarly. Yeah, she can't bleed to death because she's tied down.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't
So
believe I'm saying this out loud. But she can't bleed to death because she's tied down. But they can allow her blood to flow through a faucet.
yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah,
just
because when
the
you really
worst
think,
thing that you can think of a
Mhm.
vampire is what they are.
Yeah, basically they realize that, hey, the human body is able to once the human body is able to give blood, once you give blood, your body is able to reproduce the blood that you just gave. So it
Right.
would make sense that they're going to basically keep on draining this person and just keep them alive as much as they can. But man, it's
Yep.
very gnarly. But you know
Yeah, they might
uh,
be, but it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Like
for
you're
sure.
supposed to feel how horrible
Mhm.
these people are
Yeah.
because like there's something about these American vampires that
Well, these are
they
the
don't.
European.
Right, but
So,
what I'm saying is like the American vampires don't look at this and like try like beg to be a part of it. Like
oh yeah, for sure.
they instantly reject it, and
Mhm.
it doesn't like as you can see as the story goes on, it doesn't really make them good. It just makes them different,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know. It was just like you get this idea of how formidable these people are, but they're too well formed to really compete almost
Mhm.
with just a few American vampires. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's my brother there, always joking around. But yeah, just they're just carrying a conversation and everything, and they're pretty much just relaxed because they're like, okay, we pretty much took down Pearl, and she's probably not going to attack us anytime soon. But then she comes in, and it's like, now, Bernie, careful what you wish for. It's like, honey, I'm home,
Exactly.
and they are here to kick ass.
Yeah, they're
And
ready.
and like we saw the stakes, but I wish they would have showed how the hell she made like this giant sickle. Like, where the
Yeah,
hell
she's
did
like,
she?
look at her. She's like the Grim Reaper. You
Right?
know, like
Like,
that's
where?
it's such a cool panel.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things like you would want as a poster, just
A
because how
hundred percent. Yep.
how dynamic it is. So yeah, just awesome
Yeah.
stuff. So pretty much they're just carrying conversation. You'll never leave here alive. And, of course, the American vampires, they have different things. And then they toss the body of the woman that was tied up. Like, they're not even man enough or like, you know, what vampire enough to actually face them head on. They throw a body at them so they could try to run away or have someone to take the blow first, like cheap
Yeah.
asses. And then he gets cut.
Yep.
And I just love this blood splatter, and I love the sound effect just because you have like the red, but then you have like kind of like almost like how I want to do it with like the black lettering in the back because it just makes that his agony just pop even more.
It's louder than his noise is louder than his words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
here's the crazy thing. Like, y'all bear with me for 2 seconds.
Oh, with arms wide open.
So the European vampires
Mhm.
are powerful,
Yeah.
but they're so powerful that they have forgotten what pain feels like. And
Mhm.
that's what makes them that's like the fault in their armor is
Yeah.
like once they feel pain like they have to go through this shocking moment where it's like these American vampires don't even really know how their bodies work but they know how
Mhm.
to use it to kill, and so
Yeah.
it's just a it's an interesting like breathing beginnings of a war.
For sure. For sure. And yeah, you think that, enough that pretty much Mo, I'm gonna call him Mo, but he's like, her boyfriend's standing over him. This one's for my buddy's car asshole, and he's getting ready to, I guess, stab him through the chest. And then I just love this.
Mm-hmm.
This, I mean, I use this if this is the same font that I use for our lettering and I use in my comic, just because it has like it has that gore and blood look to it, but it
Right,
but it gives
it's
me
like a
that.
gurgle.
Yeah, but it gives me that old school, like, creep show
Yeah,
vibe.
this looks like a Sin City panel in color to me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and
100%, like the way that red sky is in the background
yeah,
in the first panel and
and
the
I'm just
silhouettes in the second panel.
yeah,
It,
and I'm
it,
just gonna make it bigger
it,
because I love the fact that, you see the blood, you see the gore, but you always don't have to go full detail. Like, with what he did here, you got the full message across. You stabbed him in the chest. So,
Right.
some people were like, "Oh, Raphael, he was just going the cheap route with not having to draw like the way the guy would look and the shadow in the face and all that detail." No, I mean, you as an artist, you got to find ways to get the comic done, but find creative ways where you still get the message across, you still get the action across, and you still get the gore across because,
Yeah.
you got to get work done. But I mean, it's not the cheap way out. It's
But no,
very
like
creative.
this does everything that this being ultra
Mhm.
realistic and up close in the stab wound. This is miles more gruesome than that,
Yeah. Mhm.
with silhouettes and very little red blood. It's just,
Yeah,
it's just, it's such a
Raphael
good
has
shit.
done such a great job because I mean, the people who have watched us do this review, whenever you see like a lot of the European vampires attack or even the American vampires, Raphael is able to like use black silhouettes with color and find ways to make those vampires terrifying without seeing a lot of their facial features, especially in the first chapter.
Real quick, Ronnie, you know who this first silhouette looks like?
Who's that?
It looks like Dick Tracy, right?
Oh yeah.
Just right there, it really does. That's too funny.
Mhm. That's funny. And now we got Mo.
Like he's the baddest ass of the three anyway.
Yeah, and this guy's like, I can remember your taste, like vanilla and berries. Because if you guys remember from the first
Ugh.
chapter, these guys literally asked her to come into a room, and there was like what, six of them, and they all attacked her at once and had their way with her and just drained her blood. And her best friend threw her in the ditch, left for dead. So yeah,
No.
and she remembers that. Believe me, she does. But man,
Oh, she remembers everybody.
but I love this panel, not just the swiping, but, like, after he says that, you just go straight to him licking the knife and then trying to swipe at her. I just love, like, that just trying to set that tone. Y
You feel like the cold wind of the blade. You
Mhm.
feel you hear the sound of it.
Yeah,
Like, just, this is really,
and you know what
I
have
don't know,
been
it's
better?
really high end art.
It's great artwork, but you know what have been better? If his blade was stained with blood, like, almost
Yeah,
like if it was, like it because it's been used so much,
like he had used it to kill before.
yeah, he used it to kill before, and it's so, like, so stained with blood, it's, like, just on there, and it kinda indicating, like, that blood on it there was, like, kinda hers, but that's just me speaking. But, yeah,
That's cool.
really great stuff. And then she's, like, hissing at him, and, yeah, "You might be a big guy, but you gotta learn one thing. A small person does not mean that they can't jump and kick your ass."
Yep. Well, he knows now.
Mhm. "Funny, you taste like shit." Yeah,
Man,
and
Scott Snyder stories are 100, and I don't know why this is surprising to me, but they're as good as the Stephen King stories. Like
oh,
his
yeah,
writing
for
is
sure.
so good in this story, like 100%.
Yeah, and I just love the ink work that's done here, but pretty much even though that there's still, like, just violence going on, there's still the story and this just the panel transition here of just the dialogue. But here, they're just carrying on conversations, but even though they're just talking, Raphael and Snyder is, trying to find ways, how can we make this interesting? You have a close up of her face, then her eye, then him, and then a close up of her mouth. So just really great stuff that to try to make it interesting instead of them just standing there talking with just their bobbleheads there.
She is. I like. How do you just be able to do this when you become a vampire? Like
Right?
she
Right.
is so formidable. Like
And and
she can do
and
anything when she fights.
I must say it. It's kind of like how Ray all of a sudden became a great Jedi.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. I get that, man.
Yeah,
Man, I
but
gotta
I
I
mean
gotta try
it's
to watch those movies again one day.
yeah,
Like,
but it's but
it's another
it,
story for another time.
but it's great action. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely
Is such good action.
yeah.
I'm just curious about
Mhm.
how it all. Like, I would love, to, and I'm not saying it in a negative way. I would just
Yeah.
love to know what I would love to know what that looked like.
Yeah, because the thing is, like we said before, she was attacked, and remember, before she turned her friend into a vampire, she was really weak as well. So we don't know exactly how long she had to take to recover.
And I tell you what, and I hope this is no, this is not a spoiler. So don't get me wrong. I'm kind of just speaking on this story as on this chapter as a whole. Wow, this this chapter was so good because it was able to stand up without one mention of Skinner Sweet in the whole chapter. There was no reference or
Yes.
anything,
Mhm.
and it stayed good the whole time without him. And I stopped looking for him. I just wanted to know what was going to happen in this
But
story.
that's
It was
but
such a
that's
good
what's so
story.
that's what's gonna be so great though, is that we know somehow Skinner Sweet is gonna have like some type of confrontation with her in the future. Like, is it gonna be one of those things like, okay, you take down these European vampires, but is there going to be like a even bigger group? It's like, okay, you took down the weak guys, but you don't know about these secret secret lords behind us, or is Skinner Sweet going to somehow become the bad guy? We don't know. I mean,
Right, because
there's a lot of
they're both
issues to cover.
they're both finding people to turn on the
Yeah.
way. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Skinner Sweet has a rival on his own team. His team is so big. Like,
Yeah.
what is this going to look like when they do come together?
Hmm. Man, and just I appreciate comic book artists that take the time to do artwork like this because, man, just taking the time to draw each piece of glass breaking in different ways and flying in different ways is very time consuming.
And also, this picture would have been just fine without the stained glass at the bottom, but it's
Yeah.
so much better because it's there. Like,
Hmm. For
that's
sure.
what that's what sets it. That's what sets the art in this book now, like consistently in this
Hmm.
book, apart from a lot of other things. Like, it's really solid artwork.
Oh yeah, for sure. If Raphael, he definitely is one of probably the most detailed artists besides, man, just he's done a really great job.
You
He's
know,
probably one of my favorite artists out of the top 5 that I have for horror right now.
wow, that's that's awesome. Like, he knows his style, and like he
Yeah.
sticks in his style. Like, he doesn't really do anything that's not in his style, and that's what
Mhm.
makes it look so good. So
Uh, but man, look at that. That is awesome. Like she breaks the stained glass and you see the sunlight come in and you just see his skin basically disintegrated because of the sun.
look how close this other guy is to being melted. Also, like he's
Right?
just out of the
Exactly.
line of fire.
Yeah, man. But yeah, just pretty much, everyone's having a fight, but now
Look at who's on. Look at who's in the movies.
who
Oh,
is in the
MG.
movies? Her best friend that Lily betrayed her. And now her best friend is pretty much like signing pictures,
A movie star, a
a movie
sellout.
star. Yeah. She always wanted to be a movie star, but she felt that Pearl was always better than her, so it's like, hey, I got to take out my competition, and that's pretty much what's going on. And
Yep.
now we have her friend, and now she's realizes that the person that's asking for the autograph is Pearl. So now we're gonna have a cat fight,
Yeah, but how does Hattie compete with Pearl?
right?
Because she's a vampire now.
But
And
man,
like
that's some nice work there, though. I like that. That's
why do the European vampires create American vampires? Like, what's the X factor? Like, is it literally because they're from America? Like,
well
is
think
it is
well think about it. If they could kill off their competition and then use someone like Haiti and study her, so that way they're like, okay, these are their weaknesses, just in case if something ever came
I
against us.
see. That makes sense.
That's the way I would
That
think.
makes a lot of sense. That's good. I like that. Like, I'll believe that also. Like, I'm not culty believing it, but I like the way that sounds with what makes
Yeah.
sense.
hmm Yeah, just awesome work. And now they're just fighting with each other, and I just love. And sometimes it seems like the American vampires, when they fight each other, the action sequences are so much better when the
Because
than
they're werewolves.
instead of fighting against the European vampires, because they're more agile and more flexible. You know what I mean?
Yep. Um, they are they fight like werewolves.
hmm For
They
sure.
look like werewolves. What is they react like werewolves to the full moon and no moon. Like, what's going on here?
And look, she literally cut herself to turn into a vampire.
What a coward.
Yeah, so she was even bitten by the
Now we get it.
Europeans. You know, that's crazy.
Insane. Like, she's every bit. She's such a coward. Like,
Mhm.
they found a way to make a 100% coward character. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read. Believe it or not, this is all for the best, pro. You're not built for this, any of it. You're tough, sure, but when it comes right down to it, you're a good person. In the end, you just don't have the stomach for this town, honey. So it's pretty much saying, the only way to survive in Hollywood is to be a bloodsucker.
Yo, well, she's one of those.
Mhm. And then she gets cut. Maybe, yeah, just awesome, awesome stuff, man. And that's a great jump sequence, and you just see how, like, even though Haiti is a vampire, she knows she's screwed because you could see the terror in her eyes right there.
This picture is what like Image Comics look like to 12-year-old Foggy.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this, that's exactly what Image looked like to me.
hmm
I would have ran away from this picture when I was a kid.
Yeah, for sure. And pretty much here now you just see Haiti just basically being afraid.
A
She's a
coward.
vampire. She's a vampire, but now she realized she's gonna die, and
Yep.
she went back into her human form because in
Yep.
the end, you know, they're showing their true nature. They're always a coward
Yep.
hiding behind stuff.
Yep.
And in the end, instead of trying to reminisce with her friend, she's trying to like say, Pearl, Pearl, please don't do this. And in the process, what she's doing, she's actually trying to trick Pearl to kill her with the star of all things. And then Pearl's like, nope, I see it and eat it. And literally she shoves it down her mouth. And man, that is some great, not like great gore, but just great detail there.
Is a
Like,
good everything. Like
yeah,
the action was like so intense. Like it was like bracing at times. Like
but it's
just
and you see the tear coming down and like her skin like boiling. from the metal, just awesome.
Man, they had a real gold star
Yeah.
on that door. Like, how bananas is that? How much was that a
Mhm.
cost? What would that be worth now? Oh my goodness.
I wonder why it's hissing though. Is it because the metal's hot? I don't
It's
know.
something about the gold. It's something
Yeah.
because in the next panel she even says gold, like she knew that would do it.
Hmm.
And she's also sad because she killed her friend.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because when she moved into town, pretty much like they became best friends and roommates. But in the end, her best friend that she relied on betrayed her.
Too bad.
So
Too bad. So sad.
pretty much now, the whole European vampires are killed. The ones who pretty much like ruined Skinner Sweet's life for so many years, and Pearl and her boyfriend are just having a nice night on the town. And then who do you think just shows up out of nowhere? I think it's nothing but Skinner himself, dressed up.
Nah.
Yep. This
Fancy
place is
pants.
mankind and you're paranoid. So he probably knew that she was going to take revenge and do something that he never could do, because they were always expecting him to kill them because he's been fighting the European vampires for years. So he's like,
You know,
"Hey,
I didn't even recognize that was Skinner Sweet. I don't
yeah."
know why I didn't. Like, as I read this, I just thought it was a smooth criminal. I really
Mhm.
didn't even, I didn't think anything else of it. I thought it was just a new character being introduced, but you're totally right. I
But
didn't see
yeah.
his candy, but I guess he's
Mhm.
eating cotton candy.
Right. But it's like, and that's the end. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, that's the end of it. But it's like some of the dialogue that Skinner knew that she would be able to do everything on her own because he believed in her.
It's
Like
such a good story.
like he says,
It's
because watching you this week has got me thinking about all the fun we could have together, you and me. What do you say? Any chance I can win you away from old Henry there? And she's like, no. So pretty much now Skinner is like basically attracted because it's like this woman could handle herself.
right.
But
Right.
yeah.
And there, he turned her, but
Mhm.
she's as formidable as he is now. Like he knows that if he tried to
Yeah.
take her away, that it would be a vampire fight on the boardwalk. So it's not worth the attention.
That's funny.
Exactly.
That's funny. But yeah, I definitely want to. I can't wait to see more of the story on why Skinner didn't actually help her and Henry out with the whole fight, because we saw with Skinner in the old Western days that he was actually fighting the European vampires, and he has been doing it for years. But what makes Pearl so different that she was able to be strong enough to do it, unlike Skinner? Who knows? But it was a great chapter. What would you rate it as?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I don't want to just. I think it was a fantastic chapter.
Mhm.
Nah, I guess
I,
I gotta give it an 8.5. Like it's good. Like it's really, really good.
I I would give it a solid 8. Solid 8.
It's such a
Yeah.
good chapter. Like
Mhm.
it was slow for what seemed like was so much
Yeah.
of the story, but it was slow. It was slow for like two
Yeah.
percent of the story, and
Yeah.
then I just rethought what I said after I
Mhm.
started. Like I said in the beginning, but good
Like I would have
story.
like I would have gave it a 10 if they actually showed it, because like we talked about with the last chapter, we saw
Yeah,
that she was pretty much almost left dead, because when she realized that Haiti was one of them, Haiti literally almost Haiti and the European vampires almost killed Pearl until her friend came in. So it would have been nice to actually saw like that transition on, you know, were they resting and preparing for
but
months or
there's
what?
so much
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
There's so many things.
Yeah.
Look at how full the moon is. that means that they were able to fight their strongest then. That's why they were able to get out alive on the other
Yeah,
side, because
and this
their
and
powers were their strongest. So
yeah,
they knew when they were in the
yeah, and
month.
yeah,
So
it would have been great if they were like, oh, okay. I don't know how they would able to tell back then in the 1920s, like, oh, okay, this maybe they did have a newspaper or something like, okay, on this day
yeah, 100%
there's gonna be a
Rude.
full moon, so let's fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that definitely gives me Lost Boy vibes. That's why I like it. All right.
Yeah, really good
Well,
chapter. Like, is that a
we're gonna
UFO in the background?
I don't know.
You see those? You see these lights right there, like in the triangle formation? They're not attached to any buildings.
That's funny. All right. Well, guys, thank you for stopping by. Check out, my buddies, uh, Jason and Aaron's mini comic
ManyComicBundles.com.
bundles.com, and then go to Tapas, look for A Vengeful Heart.
Subscribe to Ronnie's Tapas, guys. It's
Yeah.
good. Read A Vengeful Heart.
Yeah, because episode 2 is coming out at the end of the month. And it's one of those things like I am going to keep on working on my horror calendar as well. But I'm probably not going to post the horror calendar. I'm just going to focus mostly on the comic because that's my main goal now. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, I
Thanks,
appreciate that,
Peter,
Peter.
man. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for
You know,
hanging out with us live, man. This
we're,
is a fun one.
yeah, for sure. I mean, me and Jason, as the months go on and we create more comics and hone on our skills and everything, it's just great to I'm not going to call myself a professional at all means, but it's just great to see how like before I'm like, okay, how I actually see my mistakes as a writer in the past and how I see my mistakes as an artist in the past and how like I can actually fix those. So it's just fun to really see how I'm growing overall, especially when you do it for almost every single day of your life.
Yep. I keep wanting to jump over bigger horror ramps. Like,
Yeah,
I
for
keep
sure.
wanting to do something a little scarier in my stories than I know I was doing last year. So
Hmm.
it's been fun, like to push the limits and see see how comfortable I can get making things uncomfortable sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's been a blast. Oh yeah, you're coming on my channel tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah.
Talk about
Yeah.
Midsummer. Yeah, I
Let's
can't wait, man. This is
let's
gonna be so
remove
good.
this and you talk about that.
That's what I got. I don't want to
Yeah.
tell y'all too much. Y'all
Okay.
know the
Okay.
movie Midsummer. Like,
Yeah.
it hit me hard, man. I can't wait to talk about it. It's probably not
Awesome.
the best horror movie, but
Hmm.
I think it's one of my favorite horror movies. Like
For sure.
100%. I think it's always gonna be on my list. So check it out, guys. Fallbreaker Studios tomorrow, 8:30 p.m.
Awesome. Peace, everyone.
Good night.